Imagine the sound, distant at first, hooves striking the dry earth, one after another, until it feels like the heavens themselves are tearing open. You look to the horizon, and there, riding through the dust, is a figure pale as bone. Behind him, the ground splits, and the dead follow. This isn't a horror story. This is prophecy. The year is 95 AD. On a rocky island called Patmos, surrounded by cold waves and Roman guards, an old man sits alone. His name is John, the last of the apostles, exiled, silenced, forgotten. But in his solitude, something stirs. He lifts his eyes to the sky and sees a door open in heaven. A voice like a trumpet calls out, "Come up here." And suddenly, the world around him dissolves. He sees a throne, burning with light, and in the right hand of the one who sits upon it lies a scroll, sealed 7 times. No one, neither in heaven nor on earth, is worthy to open it. No one except the Lamb. But this Lamb is not gentle. It bears the scars of slaughter. And when it begins to break the seals, one by one, the end of everything doesn't arrive with fire. It begins with a ride. The first seal cracks. A voice thunders, "Come and see!" And out of the light rides a horse, white as ivory. Upon it, a rider, clean, regal, victorious. A crown upon his head, a bow in his hand. And the scroll says only this: he went out conquering and to conquer. For centuries, scholars argued, who is he? Some saw salvation in his purity. They said he was Christ himself, riding to redeem the world. But others looked closer, and what they saw was not salvation, but deception. White, the color of virtue, becomes the mask of control. This rider doesn't burn cities or shatter walls. He conquers minds. He speaks of peace, of progress, of unity. But every word he whispers tightens the chains. He builds systems. He drafts treaties. He wins not by force, but by persuasion. And those he conquers rarely know they've lost. In ancient Rome, emperors rode white horses through the streets, claiming divine right. In the Middle Ages, the church wore white robes while wielding absolute power. In modern times, conquest rides under many names: civilization, ideology, global order. Every era has its white rider, every empire its smiling deceiver, and each time we welcome him because he promises peace. Then the second seal breaks, the ground shakes, and from the horizon emerges a new rider. A red horse, not bright crimson, but the deep, wet color of spilled blood. The rider lifts a sword so vast it glints like lightning, and a voice declares, "To him was given power to take peace from the earth, that men should kill one another." This is not war as strategy. This is war as eruption. He doesn't start battles. He simply removes the restraint and watches the world ignite. In John's time, the Roman Empire preached peace, Pax Romana. But beneath it seethed civil war, rebellion, and massacre. The Red Rider simply unveiled what was already festering, and since then he has ridden again and again. He rode through the streets of Paris in 1789, when liberty turned to guillotine. He galloped across Europe in 1914, when a single bullet set the world ablaze. He rides now, through cities divided by ideology, through hearts burning with hatred. Sometimes he comes in tanks and drones, other times in rumors, in fear, in the quiet spark of rage between neighbors. The White Rider conquers your mind. The Red Rider tears it apart. The third seal opens. The air grows still, and out steps a rider upon a black horse, dark as coal, as ash, as soil left barren. In his hand, not a weapon, but a pair of scales, balanced, cold, merciless. And from the shadows, a voice echoes, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, but do not harm the oil and the wine." A denarius, a full day's wage. And yet, it buys barely enough bread for one man. The message is clear. This is not the famine of empty fields. It's the famine of imbalance. The world still produces. The warehouses are full, but the scales are tipped. The poor starve while the elite feast. Oil and wine, luxuries, are spared. Necessity becomes privilege. Life becomes a number on a ledger. The black horse rode during the fall of empires, when gold outweighed grain, when greed hollowed nations. He rode through the Great Depression, when food was dumped to keep prices high, while families starved. He rides still, through modern markets where abundance exists, but access is denied. He is the bureaucrat of the apocalypse. No sword, no fire, just numbers, inflation, imbalance. His weapon is the invisible hand that squeezes until nothing is left. The fourth seal breaks. But this time, there is no thunder, no voice, only silence. And through that silence comes a rider, on a horse pale as sickness. Chloros in Greek, the color of dying leaves, of bile, of a corpse left too long in the sun. The rider's name is Death, and close behind follows Hades, the grave itself. To them is given power over a fourth of the earth, to kill with sword, with hunger, with plague, and by the beasts of the earth. Death doesn't bring calamity, he collects it. He is the quiet conclusion to all the others. The white rider conquers minds. The red rider spills blood. The black rider starves the body. And death simply waits. In art, he is drawn as a skeleton with a scythe. But in truth, death never needed a face. He is the one constant of creation. He rode through the Black Death, through the flu of 1918, through the quiet rooms of every hospice and hospital. Sometimes he gallops, in pandemics, in disasters. Other times he walks, in silence, in slow decline. He doesn't chase you, he simply arrives. Because in the end, he always does. 4 riders, 4 forces, each distinct yet bound together. Some scholars see them as a sequence. First, conquest rises, an empire built on ambition. Then, war breaks it apart. Famine follows, draining its lifeblood. And finally, death sweeps the ashes clean. The cycle completes, civilization falls, and somewhere, a new rider mounts his horse. Others say the horsemen are not a line, but a wheel, turning eternally. Every age spins through them. Babylon, Rome, Byzantium, us. Conquest, war, famine, death, repeat, again and again and again. They are not just figures of faith. They are the language of history. Every economic collapse, every civil war, every silent pandemic, they are there, unmasked, eternal. After John's vision faded, the world moved on. But the horsemen never left. They rode through scripture, through paintings, through stories, whispered across generations. Medieval artists painted them trampling kings and peasants alike, because death spares no rank. Poets reimagined them as the sins of man, conquest as pride, war as wrath, famine as greed, death as inevitability. In modern times, they changed form. They became pandemics. They became nuclear warheads. They became collapsing markets and poisoned skies. They became us. Every time the world feels like it's tipping, when order fractures, when nations burn, when hunger spreads, when silence follows, it's easy to wonder, are the horsemen coming? Or have they been riding beside us all along? The book of Revelation ends not in despair, but in unveiling, because that's what apocalypse truly means, to reveal. And what the horsemen reveal is us, our hunger for power, our thirst for conflict, our blindness to suffering, our denial of mortality. Maybe the prophecy wasn't meant to predict a single ending, but to remind us of the pattern we keep repeating. Every conquest begins with good intentions. Every war starts with righteous anger. Every famine begins with imbalance. And every death feels inevitable only when it's too late. John of Patmos tried to warn us, but maybe he didn't see the future at all. Maybe he saw the truth about humanity, that we are both the riders and the ridden, that every age has its horsemen, and every generation must choose whether to follow them or to break the cycle, because when the seals break, the world doesn't end in fire. It ends in silence. If you're still here, thank you for listening. The stories we tell aren't just about the past. They're about the patterns we still live in. If this made you think or feel that quiet chill of recognition, don't forget to subscribe, because there are more secrets waiting, more prophecies still riding through time, and we'll uncover them together.